Well, the Justice Brothers Racing Museum was started in 1985. The idea was to put maybe 2 cars on each side of the lobby, and that was it. 4 cars, yeah, it'd be a nice little treatment, and we'd leave it at that. It'd just be nice when people come to visit us. Well, you know, now if you look around, you can see we sort of went way beyond that, and because we found out, like a lot of people, that collecting cars is an addiction, and there's no cure for it other than death, as I tell people. That's the only way you cure this addiction, is you pass away and somebody else ends up with the problem. But a guy gave us our first gas pump, and that's down in the lobby, and now we got over 200 of them. If we had sat down and actually planned this out, it probably wouldn't be as much fun and as neat as it is. But it you know, to use this term organic, it was an organic thing. It just sort of grew. And you know, you run into this and people say, how do you find cars? Not a problem. Once you buy a certain number of them, don't worry, people will start contacting you. One of the driving forces for us when we created this museum was hopefully to really give young people the bug. Not because it's going to make us money, but to give them the bug, because cars are a great diversion. It keeps you out of trouble, keeps you out of you know, other things. It's like being involved in sports. So kids can come here with their parents or their grandparents, and it's a great thing. My dad, they were in the oil business. You know, Justice Brothers, they were involved in the automotive industry and the oil industry for over 70 years total, the company. And I was going to a lot of races as a young kid. My weekends would typically be going to an event with my dad, and if I said, hey Dad, I'm going to go play with some of my friends this weekend, he goes, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know, we're going to go down to, you know, Johnny's house or whatever and have some fun. And he goes, no, I don't think you're going to do that. And I said, well, why not? He says, because you're going to get in trouble. He says, you go down there, you're going to get in trouble, and you're not going to learn anything. And he said, so you're going to come with me. So that was basically a lot of my childhood. I mean, I played a lot with my friends, don't get me wrong, after school and that type of stuff. But on the weekend, pretty much spent all the time with my dad, going to racing events. You know, I would look at the magazines and I'd see these, just what I felt, and they were incredible photographs that some of the great motor racing photographers had shot. And I mean, I just was all over that. And I actually wanted to do other things in art, but the photography really appealed to me more because you got to go out. You got to meet people. You got to go to locations. You got to go to a track. It's like hunting, you know. I mean, find a good spot in the turn, get the good angle, wait for the car to come through. And you know, this is at a time where it really was like hunting. Shooting a photograph today is like going hunting with a machine gun. Okay, to just compare it. Back then you had one shot and that's it. And so you'd focus on a spot in the turn. You had no autofocus, you had manual focus. You focus on that spot, pan, wait for the car to come through, and when it hit that spot, click, you do it. And sometimes you'd hit, and a lot of times you'd miss. And I mean, I'm talking the best guys. You didn't walk away with the high percentage of good photographs that you can today. There's an attachment with every photo that you shoot. You know, I mean, I had my photos and I had them packed away, my negatives, for probably at least 20 years. And I had a lot of my friends telling me, you got to bring those out. Man, I mean, this stuff's popular now. You could sell the pictures and all that. And I say, yeah, oh yeah, okay, great. And then a friend of mine was doing this book, a project called Fuel and Guts. And my friend is Tom Madigan, and he was just really on me. He says, your stuff hasn't been published in 40 years, 20 years, whatever. Yeah, it was like 30 years, something like that. And he said, I want to get your photography because, you know, a lot of times you just see the same old picture. You know, like if there's only 1 or 2 pictures of a certain event, and those are out there, that's always what'll be running books if they cover that particular event. And so I finally got them out reluctantly. And today, of course, you don't need a darkroom. You don't have to deal with the chemicals like I used to do. Scan them, and you print it all, you know, with the lights on and watching TV. And This was shot in 1970 at the Ontario Motor Speedway for the California 500, which happened to be Dan Gurney's last IndyCar race. And he had just come in from testing the car. I was 15 years old when I shot this picture. And imagine a 15-year-old kid shooting as a pro, okay, true, but still I'm 15. You know, there's no change in that. Walking up to this guy that's at the end of his career, he's a legend, and I say, yeah, Mr. Gurney, would you mind squatting down next to the car and let me shoot this picture of you? And I'd just like to get a shot. And him saying, yeah, great. It just pulls off his helmet. His hair's going 30 different directions. You look at the palm on his hand and it's dirty from, you know, going out and working on the car and driving the car and all that. There's no setup. There's no PR people. There's nobody around. It's just a photographer walking up to the sports figure saying, hey, can I get a picture of you here? And him saying, yeah, no problem. Snap a couple pictures. It turned out he used it for his fan club for a number of years. I think, again, the most favorite thing for me about photography is the permanence, that you own that moment in time. And, you know, I go back through the photographs and I look at them and I can remember things about the day, things that happened. And a lot of times I can remember shooting that exact picture and, you know, what it was like. I mean, you can relive that memory, and for me that's obviously different than the viewer that looks at it, but for me that's what I get out of it. I mean, I love owning that moment.